Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a guide for round 6 of the 2022 Nations Cup Stage 2 taking place at Alsace test course with the Mazda Roadster touring cars. So this is a one-make race, 20 lap race where fuel is a ×5, which is surprisingly not an issue, but the tire wear is at a very high ×20. We are using the sports hard and sports soft tires. Only the sports hard tires are required, so make sure you use those tires for at least one lap so you don't get a 1 minute penalty after the race ends. BOP is on, so you cannot tune your car. But anyways, let's go on over to the lap guide. So we're in the Mazda Roadster touring car on sports soft tires. Make your way towards the right as you start the new lap, and just as a curb on the left starts, that's where you want to start to ease on the brakes. Don't take too much advantage of the curves as it can unsettle the car. Bringing yourself down to second gear, and you want to be really careful getting on the throttle. You still want the rotation, but you want to be really careful with the throttle input because it's really easy for this car to step out if you have too much throttle input. Then just as you go under the 50-meter board, that's where you want to start to ease on the brakes. So nearly full braking power for a short moment, and then just turn on in. Don't take too much advantage of the curbs as they could potentially spin you out. Second gear for rotation, third gear as you make your way out of the turn, and just carefully get on the throttle, trying to take this turn flat out. Don't take too much advantage of the curbs or else you'll literally go flying off the track. Then bring yourself towards the left, start to turn in just before you reach the 50-meter board and start to ease on the brakes. You're trying to maintain as much momentum as possible through this long final turn, trying to go for a late apex, so kind of where this curb on the right ends, but do not touch the grass, otherwise you'll have a pretty bad ending. Then just try to maintain your momentum, and that is it for the lap guide. Let's go on over to the race strategies, and we're going to start with the slowest strategy first, which is a zero stop on the sports hard tires. So you do all 20 laps on the sports hard tires. Be aware that this is a grid start, so make sure you have traction control at 1, and then you can then bring it down to 0 shortly after the race starts or after you hopefully survive the first turn. So in this run we're doing 20 laps on the sports hard tires. Yes, it is possible to do a zero stop on the sports hard tires, but this is the slowest strategy out of the 3 that I'll be discussing. And the thing is that on the sports hard tires, you're lapping about 2 seconds a lap slower than when you're doing your sports soft tires. Apologies if you hear the dogs in the background. But yeah, this run, you have to be really careful when you're on the sports hard tires because it feels like you're driving on ice skates. You have to be super careful getting on the throttle, especially for the first hairpin and then the roller coaster turns. You have to be really careful on the throttle. You have to lift off of throttle for some turns, especially in the roller coaster turns. And you have to slow down so much to try to make it through these turns without going off the track. You're basically losing way too much momentum. And the other thing is that the pit loss is actually pretty short in this race, at least in custom race, and in lobbies the pit loss is pretty short, which is around 12 to 13 seconds. So yeah, at the end of this run, yes, it is possible to do a zero stop on the sports hard tires, but this is the slowest strategy out of the 3, so you definitely do not want to zero stop this race. So I just wanted to get that one out of the way because some people might be asking about the zero stop. And yeah, it's not worth it. So this run I got a 17 minutes and 41 second run with the fastest lap of a 52.5. Alright, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the one stop. So this is where I'm going to do 10 laps on the soft tires and 10 laps on the hard tires. It is possible to make these soft tires last a little bit longer, so around 12 laps at the max. But you need to do a lot of tire saving. You need to be very careful about how you're driving the car because even just a little bit of a slide means that you just did that 20 times since we have the 20 times multiplier. So if you plan on tire saving, you have to be really careful about how you're driving. Try to limit the amount of sliding and driving errors you make. But for a lot of us, the soft tires will last around 10 laps. and you want to take into account battling with other cars or just dealing with these long right turns, as the left tires are going to be the ones that are going to take a huge beating. Now here's the thing with the one stop, it is slower than the two stop, which I'll mention later, but the thing is that in this race there's going to be a lot of battling going on. There's going to be a lot of people fighting with each other trying to get a pass done, because it's really hard to pass over here at Alsace test course, so that's going to be a lot of time wasted. And by not taking an extra pit stop, it is possible for a one stop to work. But with the one stop, you have to do quite a bit of tire saving to really make those soft tires last, because as you can see, there's quite a bit of tire wear that I have, and I was really pushing this car. So if I were to go 11 laps on the soft tires, I would face the tire puncture. So we're going to go ahead and switch on over from the soft tires to the hard tires, and that's going to be it for our strategy. So we're just going to be doing one pit stop, and we just keep on going. The pit loss is around 12 to 13 seconds just for a tire change, so it's actually not that long compared to most tracks. So while yes, you're only dealing with one pit stop, you have to try to tire save to make the sports soft tires last as long as they can, and then when you're on the sports hard tires, you're almost defenseless as you're lapping around 2 seconds a lap slower, which is going to make it incredibly difficult to hold off anyone that are on these sports soft tires, especially if they're trying to go for a two stop. So while yes, it is possible to hold them up, you can only do it for so long before you slide out just a little bit and then they squeeze their way past you. So with this run was a 17 minutes and 38 seconds, so this was actually about 5 seconds slower than the two stop, but because there's going to be a lot of chaos happening in this race, I wouldn't fully put the one stop out of the question just yet. It is a bit of a risky strategy, but if people really fight to the death in this race and you're able to avoid all the trouble, then it is possible for the one stop to work. But here is a two stop, so this is the fastest strategy, at least on paper or in the custom race. It's going to be the safest strategy, or at least for me, the more fun strategy, as you get to spend more time on the soft tires, so you get to go a heck of a lot faster. In this run, you're basically doing 2 stints on the soft tires, so you do 9 laps on the soft tires, 10 laps on the soft tires, and then just 1 lap on the hard tires, because you have to use the hard tires for at least 1 lap. In this run, I went 9 soft, 1 hard, 10 soft, just to avoid reaching the AI too early on in this race, so just keep that in mind. And there we go, just 1 lap on the hard tires, back into the pit stops. We're dealing with another 12-second pit loss, so we're now 12 seconds behind. But because these sports soft tires are around 2 seconds a lap faster than the hard tires, you can kind of easily make up that pit loss. And even though this one is faster on paper, you get to spend more time on the faster soft tires, you still kind of have to worry about the one stop, especially if you're ending up in lots of battles. So if you're fighting it out with a lot of cars, or if you're getting held up by those on the hard tires or worn tires, or you're just getting held up by someone for any reason, that's a lot of valuable time lost, especially on a small track like this one. So any valuable time lost means that anyone who's on a one stop can potentially catch up to you, and they can become a problem to you. And that's especially considering that you have to make 1 extra pit stop. But if you're able to avoid the trouble all the time, you're able to make the most out of the sports soft tires, then this is going to be the fastest strategy. With this run, I was able to do a 17 minutes and 33 second run in the 2 stop, my fastest lap time being a 50.6 second lap time. So even though on paper or in a testing session the 2 stop is faster than the 1 stop, in a race it's going to be very chaotic, which can bring the strategies a bit closer together, which can be a bit too close for comfort for some. But that's going to be it for this guide. Bit of an interesting race this one, especially with the strategies, as they have a chance of becoming a lot closer together when it comes to the real race itself. But that's going to be it for me. Hopefully this guide helps you out, and if you like this video, you can press the like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I have a memberships program thing that you can check it down below if you want to further support this channel. It really helps me out. So this is Mr. CA. Have a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.